What's up, Grid? Hey, today I've got David Dodge from St. Louis, Missouri with me. He's in Aspen, stuck, right? Skiing. Oh, poor guy,
Right.
right? So anyhow, David, thanks so much for joining us on Grid Talk, man. I appreciate you jumping on during your vacation of all things.
Hey, man, no problem. I'm actually grateful to be here. So thank you so much for having me. Always love sharing and, doing some podcasting. And hopefully the goal here, right, would be to provide as much value as we can over the next 30 minutes to an hour. So again, I'm happy to be here, man. Thank you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you sharing some time. And we're new friends, right? We met, about a month ago in Tulum, Mexico, of all place, right, for a mastermind. And I heard you. It was so funny because I heard you say, "Oh, I'm from St. Louis," and you were like talking to another group of people, and I was like, "Oh, St. Louis." I'm like, my wife's from St. Louis, right? So
That's
being
right.
the new kid on the block, I'm like gravitating to anybody I can connect with any connection, So that's cool, man. So you're from. So what I know is you're from St. Louis, right? You've been you run a real estate investment business, and it looks like you also do some coaching, consulting, and you have a podcast of your own.
Yep.
You got a podcast of your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I want to do is learn a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. Like, how did you get into this business in the first place? What was your vision for your life? And kind of walk us through. Help me understand that a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to, Rob. So for the most part, so I'm born and raised here in St. Louis, Missouri, or I shouldn't say here because I'm in Aspen right now. But where I typically spend most of my time is St. Louis. It's a decent little city. I wouldn't recommend you vacation there by any means. But in terms of real estate investing and a good real estate market, it's a fabulous place to invest. We are able to find deals on property pretty routinely, right? Pretty easily. And I'm using my phone as a camera, so there may be some pop-ups, but just
that's okay, man. That's good. That's good.
It's a lot
clearer. That was a group
there.
we're a part of right there. Multiply.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, so basically, right after, I should say this, in high school, right before I graduated, my father passed, and that's not a huge deal necessarily. Of course, death is very common, but what was a little different from that, from most other people, is that I had already lost my mother at a young age. So I was, basically forced into being a man right out of high school, right? Wow. Now, I had a great family. Shouldn't say have, still do. Great aunts and uncles and cousins and a sister and even some stepbrothers and sisters, right? And for the most part, I went off to school. My grandparents were like, "Hey, you're going to college." And thank God for them, right? They even paid for it. So incredibly grateful for my family and my late grandparents. Just amazing people. But they sent me off to school and they were like, we want you to be educated and we don't want you to just, start hanging out with the bad crowd and working at a car wash your whole life. And thank God I did, right? So I went to college and I actually started working at a car wash, and hanging out with kind of some people that I probably shouldn't be hanging out with, but I was still in college, right? And I had a teacher my freshman year of college, and I went to school to get a degree in financial planning. But what ended up happening is I had this teacher in school that I can't remember the name of the class, Rob, but basically it was a class based on Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? So very different class than your traditional Econ 101 or, business finance 101, right? And basically every day we would come in, or, every time there was a class, and we would read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it was so cool. Yes, so cool. And this guy would, talk about how much he made as a teacher, and he just donated every month, didn't give a shit about that, had a lot of rental properties and was financially free and was just teaching at the college, at the university in the town that he lived, where he had a bunch of rentals. So from a young age, I guess that would probably be 19 years old, I started looking at, real estate as an option and investing, and my grandparents as well were always invested every penny they had outside of their means, right? They were very, very good about that. Never necessarily had super high paying jobs, but, retired multi-millionaires, right? So that was kind of ingrained in me from a little child. So to kind of take a step ahead and not bore everybody here, I bought a house. I think it was my junior year of college. So I was like 21. And I went and I found a real estate agent who's a good friend and a partner to this day, and said, hey, I want to find a 4-bedroom house, and I want you to help me find one. He said, cool, no problem. Of course, he's going to get paid a commission. And he finds me a 4-bedroom house. And I go, cool. I go, put an offer on it. I don't know how I'm going to buy it, but I'm going to figure it out. And I walk into the bank and I was like, I need to get a loan to buy this house. And they're like, yeah, your credit's not that great. You don't have any income. You work at a car wash, right? Or bussing tables, like something stupid. And I was like, all right, what do you need? And they're like, we need co-signers. So I went to my family and my friends, mostly family at that point. And I was like, hey, I'll give you my word. Like, I don't have anything else at this point. Let's do it. So they co-signed on the loan. And then I also was able to get them to lend me the 20% that I had to put down. So I got an 80% loan, and I borrowed the 20%, and they co-signed, right?
100% finance deal right there, right?
Out the gate. Now, my goal was to pay them back the 20% over like the next 2 to 3 years. And I did, which is really cool. I worked really hard and I paid them back. Did that as a junior, rented out 3 of those bedrooms. So it's house hacking, right? House hacking 101. Did it again as a senior with another house. It was actually funny because I bought a friend a house, or I knew I had a friend moving into town. So I bought a house and I was like, here, you live here and you find 2 other people or I will. And he did. And then I was dating a girl at the time, kind of random. And I was like, I'm buying another house. Like, I need a tenant. So I threw her in there with some of her friends. So I basically had 3 of these by the time I graduated from school. And it was all kind of similar, right? I was working on, to pay back the money I borrowed to go get a loan. But I think the lesson here, guys, is not that house hacking is cool. It is very, very cool. Another little notification there. Not that house hacking. That's right. Not that house hacking isn't cool. That is very, very cool. But the biggest lesson, Rob, that I learned is, paying retail is a difficult way to build wealth. And it's just a difficult approach to investing in real estate. Okay. So let's jump ahead, right? My parents didn't want me hanging out with the wrong crowd, and they didn't want me working at a gas station. Well, I ended up working or not a gas station, a car wash, right? Well, I ended up working at car washes in college, of course. And I kind of started hanging out with the wrong crowd. And after college, I moved back to St. Louis, and I had a couple different random jobs. I started a web development company making websites, and I had a lawn care business for a little while. I took a job doing marketing, traveling around the United States, which was actually really fun. It was 10 months, and I was gone the whole time, different cities. So I got to see the world, or the U.S., I should say, at a young age, like 24, 25. And then basically that wrong crowd that I was telling you about, we got in some pretty serious trouble, and we're facing some jail time. And it was because of marijuana. So we were basically selling large quantities of it, and we were breaking the law.
Out of the houses?
Not out of the houses, right?
Okay.
Now it's legal, right? In states recreationally, and I'm not saying what we did was not wrong. It was, and it took like 3 years off my life because it was a federal crime, and I didn't know if I was going to go to prison or not. And long story short, I had about a whole year before I was actually going to have to go in front of the judge to get sentenced. And I just used that time to just read, right? And I'm 36 years old today. This happened when I was like 27, 28, but it didn't end until I was like 31, right? It lasted so incredibly long because it took like 2 years from the time that we got in trouble, me and my buddies, to the time that, I actually went to court. And again, that let's say last year, I didn't know if I was going to go do a year or 2 or 3. Like, I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't break any moral, like, moral laws, if you're religious, right? I just broke these laws about this plant. So I personally don't think it's really that, crazy, but it was a federal crime, and the government didn't think that it was not a big deal, right? So I just read and read and read, and I read like 100 books. And then what happened is I got sentenced, and thank God I didn't have to go to jail, but the judge gave me 9 months house arrest, Rob.
Oh, smokes. Okay.
9 months.
You can't leave the house? Is that what
so I was able to leave the house. I was able to leave the house for like 5 or 6 hours a day, but that's it. And I had to be home, and I couldn't travel. And on the weekends, I wasn't really allowed to leave. It was just the weekdays. I could leave to go. And at the time, I was a real estate investor, because what I had done was I had bought basically about a house a year. But again, the first 8 or 10 years, it was the traditional method. I want to make this very clear, guys. Don't do this. It was the traditional method of finding a real estate agent, finding a property that met my characteristics, going and making an offer, paying full retail, okay? And then purchasing that house however it would be. And basically, by the time that I got in trouble, I had about 10 rental properties. So I was buying 1 or 2 a year. And here's the thing, I've never been that good at saving money. So it's always been a great thing to save up a little bit and then park it in a house and then have debt. And I'm good at paying debt off, and I'm just not that good at saving money. So I was like, well, what better way to build wealth than just constantly pay off good debt, right? I don't have 50,000 in my checking account right now, but I got over 7 figures worth of wealth in my real estate portfolio, right? And that's the coolest thing.
It's interesting. I'd always say, man, it's like I was really good at buying assets and then just paying those off and having the tenants pay them off. But I always felt cash poor for the longest time, right?
It wasn't until about a year or two ago, Rob, that I started not worrying necessarily about having constantly income coming in, right? Because I've always just been like, oh man, let's just put every nickel towards this loan and pay it down, pay it off. And again, it's one thing having, 7 figures worth of wealth, but at the same time, you can't eat that equity, right? So, but that's what I did, right? So went and I got sentenced, and thank God that the judge kind of put mercy on me, but it gave me 9 months house arrest. So I could leave a little bit, but I was forced to stay at home a lot. So what did I just do? I read more books. And I read the entire collection of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I read any and every book that you could get at Borders or Barnes & Noble on real estate investing, flipping houses, estimating repairs, finding off-market sellers, creative financing, lease options subject to, wholesaling, so on and so forth. And I was like, man, I've been doing this wrong this whole time, Rob. This whole time. I've been doing this wrong. I've been going out. I've been hiring a real estate agent. What is wrong with me, right? I've been paying retail. And so I started doing some marketing in my local market. And at the time, I think I was even still on house arrest. Actually, I know I was. Because whenever we went, here's how I know. Because one time, whenever we went to look at an office, my bracelet on my ankle bracelet, it's house arrest, right? And it was like, you got to get home. And I'm like, shit. I'm like, my phone's ringing, guys. I got to go. And I just ducked out, right? So I started marketing. I started trying to find sellers. And 3 months went by. And I had talked to a few people, had run several appointments, had sent a few offers. And I was this close to doing a deal twice. But nothing panned out. So what did I do, Rob? I found a local mentor. I found a local coach. And I highly recommend anybody that watches this, maybe it next week or in 10 years from now, guys, to really listen to the next couple sentences here, right? I found a mentor after 3 months of struggling and did 3 deals that next month. It took me 2 weeks with the mentor to do my first deal. And then the next 2 weeks, I did 2 more. Okay. So big shout out to Joe McCall. He was my local coach, friend, and mentor. And he's really the guy that taught me a lot of things, right? But the main things was that this is a marketing business. And if you're not really good at marketing, you're not going to be good at wholesaling specifically, but really deal finding. Let's just be real general. Deal finding. It's a marketing business. And if you want to be a real estate investor, well, all the power to you. And I hope you do become one. But if you don't get good at marketing, you're not going to be able to find deals. All right. So to kind of recap, guys, I spent 10 years buying properties retail, and I was able to acquire 10 rentals over 10 years. You know, like that's not that great. Like most people I could teach to do that in probably 2, right? Maybe less.
But you got to give yourself credit. That when you look at the general population, they'd say, wow, you owned 10 houses? Like they're like their mind is like blown by that concept. But because you've been playing in different circles, you're like, oh, wait a second, that's nothing, right? And that was slow. But most people don't think that way, right? What does it look like now, right? How many doors do you have? How many properties?
Check this out. So it took me 10 years to buy 10 houses. Now, I didn't flip anything in that time frame. I just bought those. And that was and I learned about this motivated seller thing and this whole marketing as a business thing, and not just as a means to an end, but like as an actual business 6 years ago. So 10 deals in the first 10 years. Mm-hmm. And in the last 6 years, I've done 600 deals.
Oh my God. That's crazy. So roughly 100 deals a year.
Just out of reference though, it's March 16th. Not sure when this is going to air. March 16th, 2021 that we're recording this. And I've already bought 100 houses this year.
Dude, that's insane. I think I saw you post about something like that. And so I've got to unpack that in a little bit. We'll unpack that.
Yeah. So I'm not saying this big numbers to brag at all, guys. Please don't take it that way. What I am saying is that there are these people out there that are called motivated sellers. And hopefully you're listening to this and you're like, oh, Dave, I know all about the motivated seller people. Well, guess what? A lot of people don't. Okay. So my good friend, our friend, Brent Daniels taught me this one time that, roughly 4% of the population at any given time is in a really distressed situation. Or another way to word it would be 4% of all the households, it's probably a better way to word it, are in a distressed situation. So, if you have 100,000 houses in your little market, like my market's not big, St. Louis, there's about 100,000 houses there. That means that 4,000 households at any given time are motivated. Now, I want to be very clear on the motivation here. Take a step back for a second. We're going to circle back to this. As a real estate investor, specifically a wholesaler, I truly believe that all we have to offer is convenience. That's it. Okay? I've been doing this 16 years, and I really didn't even learn this until 3 years ago, just pretty recently, right? But what we have to offer people is convenience in exchange for a discount. And if they are not willing to give us a discount, then I teach all my students, you better pull that convenience way back. Maybe you're not willing to close in 2 weeks. Maybe it's going to be 3 months or 2 months. And maybe you're not going to go in and pay or let them sell you a property as is without doing any repairs or painting if they're not going to give you that discount. So the bigger discount that a seller is willing to give you, the more convenience that you are going to give them. And that's really what real estate investing is all about. It's a business. The definition of business is the act of making money, right? So we're not going to do this at a loss. We're going to do this for a profit. And how do we do that? We do that by buying at a discount, and we exchange convenience to get the discount. That's it, guys. It's that simple. So 10 years, 10 deals. I learned that lesson that I just taught you right there. And I've done 600 and probably 50 in the last 6 because now I know, Rob. Now I know, hey, I know a lot of people. I got a lot of systems in place. If you need money next Tuesday, I am really confident that I can make a couple phone calls and partner with somebody and get you that money. But if that house is really, if it's worth $200,000 and it's in its current condition, not an ARV, in its current value, we're gonna give you 130, maybe 140, maybe even 150 if you have a really good school district. But that's it. And if you don't like that number, well, then I don't have to buy it. In fact, of the last 600 houses I bought, I didn't need any of them. Zero. Now, I've probably kept about 100 of them and done the BUR method. And this time last year, I had about 75 rentals, Rob. Right now, I think I'm just over 30. Sold a bunch because the market got crazy, wanted to clean up the balance sheet, a couple other reasons like that. But for the most part, I don't need any of these houses. So I teach my students, you have a lot of value. You just don't know it because you're not talking to enough people. And when you come across these motivated seller people, they're like fictitious beings until you get in front of one and you're like, holy shit, this guy is like giving me this house half off. But he's moving for work, or he's getting divorced, or somebody died, he's inheriting the property, doesn't even live in the state, doesn't even care to come back. And he knows he's leaving money on the table. And he could always go hire that agent who probably says, we need you to fix this shit first before they even want to list it because they're embarrassed, right? And they may list it and they're going to charge them 6%. Then the buyer's going to come in and the buyer's going to send an inspector over. Well, the buyer's going to give them a contract with a really long inspection period, a bunch of outs, contingent on financing and inspections. This is how every real estate deal, traditionally speaking, works, right? Buyer comes in, sends an inspector out that costs $500 and he's there a whole day. And he sends you a 72-page report. Maybe it might even be 85 pages, guys. Like, they're big, right? And then the buyer then says, hey, still want to buy, but you need to fix this 85 pages worth of shit, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't, then I want to see 10,000 off the price or I'm walking, right? So then you haggle and you fix a couple things and then you take a couple dollars off the price. And then another month goes by because there's a financing contingency and the bank's taking time and they're sending an appraiser out and all this stuff. So traditionally speaking, a real estate transaction takes you 3 to 5 months. 3 months, best case, right?
I see how you're painting the picture, right? Like you're painting, this is the discussion you've had 100 times, 1,000 times probably with motivated sellers. And so it's an interesting concept because you're right. People don't know what a motivated seller is until you run into one. And they're literally, I remember one of my first ones, she said, what are you going to do with the house? I said, I'm going to fix it up. And she's like, you should burn it. Right? She was like, you should burn it, right? She was just like, the house had so much negative energy for her that she didn't care, right?
That's the motivation we're seeking, guys. That's it. Yeah. And that's it. Rob, I love it. So that's it, right? 10,000 foot view. Investors provide liquidity to the market. Okay. Take it down to 100-foot view. We can provide convenience in exchange for a discount. The bigger discount, the more convenience. So people often say, Dave, what convenience is? Well, there's hundreds, but really I'd say 80 to 90% of it can be categorized into three things. Cash, which really isn't ever my cash. Well, sometimes, but very rare. It's usually a partner, a hard money lender, a private money lender, line of credit from equities, or whatever, or special types of financing, like creative ways, right? Cash, that's number one. Quick, and when I say quick, I'm not buying houses in 3 days. I'm not buying houses in 7 days. And it's rare I'm buying houses in 10 days, guys. It's usually like 3 weeks, right? 2 weeks if it's a home run. But 2 to 3 weeks is extremely fast compared to the alternative of 3, 4, maybe even 5 months. So cash, quick. And the third thing that I think is, again, makes up about 80, maybe 90% of all of our conveniences is the condition. And that's I'm willing to pay, or I'm willing to buy as is.
Yeah.
So that means that they don't have to fix, clean, or remove anything from the property. And a lot of times we'll haul 5 or 6 dumpsters worth of trash out of a property, but somebody would leave 30 grand on the table when at the end of the day, I can hire a crew plus the cost of dumpsters and do 5 dumpsters, maybe $2,500. But to them, that's like all this sentimental stuff. And I get it. I've lost people close to me. There's certain things that you don't want to get rid of, or you just can't bring yourself to throw that in the trash can. It's just too hard to do. But you can walk away. That's always an easy option, right? So cash, quick, as is. Those are the conveniences. There's lots of other things as well, but that's the majority. And in exchange for those, depending on what they want, some people want cash. They want to be able to do it quick. Others just want to walk away. So it depends on what they're looking for is what we're going to sell them. But in exchange for those, we're going to demand. We're not going to ask, guys. We are going to demand a discount. Mm-hmm. And typically, I want to see a 30% discount minus the repairs. People
walk me through the evolution of your marketing machine, right? So in the beginning, you learned, okay, this is a marketing business. So maybe you went gently into the night, or maybe you went all in. Like, I'm curious.
Oh, yeah. Great question. I love this. Yeah. So I get people all the time. So I now have a mentor program and a coaching program and sell courses, right? Just like I was paying for and buying back in the day. And I signed up for Rich Dad coaching. I did Joe's coaching. I did 2 or 3 other people's coaching. Probably, bought 20 or 30 different courses online. And every one of them taught me something, right? Those things all taught me something. So when I was on house arrest and I started my marketing, myself, I was cold calling and cold texting using Google Voice from Craigslist and Zillow. I was calling people that had for sale by owners and or for rent. And I tell my students that's still a great option. Nowadays, you can add in Facebook Marketplace and local groups to that list. Also, Go Section 8's a good spot. But basically, keep it simple. Just pick up the phone and start calling or texting people that have houses for sale or they have a house for rent and ask them if they're interested in selling it. And that's what I was doing. I was only doing like an hour or 2 a day for that first 3 months. And that's why I didn't really get a deal. I was close a couple times, but it just didn't happen. So when I hired Joe, I had $60,000 or $62,000 worth of credit card debt. Not going to disclose what I paid Joe because it's nobody's business, but I paid him several $1,000. Best money I've ever spent, by the way. I love it. Joe's still a good friend, but several $1,000s I had paid to that coaching program. So I went from like 62 grand, let's say, to like, 65 or 67. And then Joe's like, hey, this is a marketing business. This is what you hired me to do. So we're going to go do some marketing. It's either time or money. David, what do you want to do? And I'm kind of lazy. I always have been. So I was like, I guess we'll just put this on their credit cards and just see what happens.
Let it ride.
I was like, I'm already doing like 1 or 2 hours a day of cold calling. I can maintain that, Joe. I promise you, right? I can maintain that. But I am not doing 6 or 8 hours. It's just not me. I'm not doing that, right? So he goes, cool, let's get you a motivated seller list. I think we maybe pulled some absentee owners and some vacant houses in my market. And I sent out like $3,000 worth of postcards over about 2 weeks, over about 2-week period. Wow. And my phone started blowing up, man. It started ringing. And Rob, it's one of these things where it's like you spend an hour or 2 ringing other people, and you may talk to 30 people and have 3 people that you're going to follow up with. And that's without an auto dialer. Now with an auto dialer, you can 10x those numbers, right? But this is 6 years ago. And, I kind of learned it at a young, or I should say in the beginning, and Joe probably taught me this too, but it's either you're ringing somebody else's phone or they're ringing yours.
Sure.
Period. No matter what kind of marketing you're doing driving for dollars, you're doing cold calling, cold texting, radio ads, online marketing. At the end of the day, even if they go and fill something on your website, you get an email. Well, boom, you got to call them now. So it's either you call them or they call you. That's the end result. And you can have 10 steps between that, but the end result is to get them on the phone always.
To have a conversation.
So, have a conversation, make a friend. Right, exactly. So it was funny because my phone started ringing and I'm like, holy cow, like, I've been like spending like dozens of hours a week, dozens and dozens to try to, to get a couple people to like want to talk to me. And now I got like 30 people a day calling me. Now that was short-lived. Mail all hits and then it slows down. But I was like, holy cow, this $3,000 worth of mail that I just sent out, again, it got me like 3 deals that first month. And I'm just thinking, holy cow, I've been approaching this all wrong. All wrong. This is a marketing business, guys. It's either time. It's not either. It's and. Sorry. Time and money. right? You can eliminate the money down to like nickels if you spend a lot of time. But if you don't want to spend all that time, and you have to spend a lot of money, right? So a lot of the gurus out there, including me, all right, I'm not discounting myself here, are going to go online and they're going to market, hey, learn how to do real estate deals, learn how to wholesale real estate with little to no money. It's the best pitch there is, right? When it's like trying to get somebody to buy your coaching program or to buy a course, right? Learn how to buy properties with little to no money, Rob. Well, guess what? I've done that hundreds of times. I'm sure you have too. But
Carlton Sheets, baby. That was my old school, Carlton Sheets.
Right.
No
but
money
here's
down.
the catch. There's always a catch.
Yeah.
I lead with it. I don't know many other people out there that have this message. I lead with it. The marketing is going to take time. It's going to be expensive, and it's going to be difficult. Now, the cool part is this business is simple. It's incredibly simple, but it's not necessarily easy. You're going to have to work really, really hard. Everything in my life that I cherish, I worked really hard for. You give me something, I'm going to give 2 cents about it, right? So you got to think like all things that you work hard for, they're going to usually pay off big, right? So you're going to have to work really hard and get really good at marketing and spend a lot of time and maybe even a lot of money to get these leads. Now, the cool part is once you get a good lead, you can flip a house worth $800,000 for $10. You can do it. It's possible. I've done it 500 to 600 times, right? You don't need a lot of money to flip the house, but you need a lot of time and money to generate these leads, period, right? Now, we get leads that fall in our lap, and I'm sure you do too, but you've earned those free leads by spending time at networking events and RIAs and posting on Facebook that you are looking for deals and that you buy houses. One of the best lessons that I think I've ever learned, and this isn't even a real estate specific one, but it's such a good correlation. My business partner, Mike, taught me this. Never keep your business a secret. Just think about that for a second, right? If nobody knows that you're looking to go buy houses, like let's say somebody's watching this or listening to this and they're on the fence, they're like, oh, I've been kind of wanting to like dabble in this, right? Well, if you are too embarrassed to tell your friends, you should stop right now. Literally, stop and just go find another hobby. But if you, take off that, that worry of what they're going to think about me and you start telling people, hey, I buy houses, they're going to know somebody that is looking to sell a property and they're going to call you. And we get this happen to us 2 or 3 times a month where somebody says, hey, Dave, I've been seeing you post on Facebook, once a month for 6 years saying you buy houses and my grandma moved into a home. Yeah. And we know you're not going to pay retail, but we want simple. We want convenience here. And we're willing to leave a little money on the table because we know you're going to be quick and easy to work with. Yeah,
we call it being omnipresent, right? You're just they see you all the time, right? You have to be omnipresent. So what does your machine look like now? Are you doing direct mail? Are you doing Facebook ads, Instagram ads? Or the answer is yes, I do all of it, right? And if so,
I consider myself to be a decent real estate investor. But I'm an expert marketer. I really believe that, right? So awesome. I do all of it, right? So I started out with the direct mail. And by the way, I was 67 grand, then the extra 3,000 that I had spent. I was 70 grand in credit card debt when I got my first deal, and I think I made 11,000 on that deal. It's been a long time. I paid off all my debt in the preceding 8 or 9 months. Right. Awesome. So just because you have a little bit of debt doesn't mean that you can't do this business. And if you're going to spend money on anything at all, I would highly recommend you find a mentor. I'm not even suggesting me. I'm not even suggesting Rob here. Yes, we're both great at this, I'm sure. Right. But just find somebody that you relate to because they are going to do a lot of things for you, but mainly they're going to speed it up.
Yeah.
Time. Because they're going to take away all the worry and the fears that you may have about the business and the marketing. So I would say there's 2 main things that I learned from Joe, my main mentor. 1, this is a marketing business. And 2, don't worry about the what ifs. And the reason that that's so impactful to me is because, you know, at the time, this is 6 years ago, but Joe was using this little thing called Boxer. And he may still use it today. I don't know. I got my team over on Slack, but Boxer's cool because as a coach, you can kind of mute it all. And then like 1 hour a day, you can jump on there and respond to all your students. Well, I was sending Joe like, what if this happens, Joe? And again, by the way, I already had 10 houses when I started. So I wasn't like a complete novice. I knew about loans and banks and about the process of closing, but I didn't know about negotiating or motivation and direct to seller and marketing or any of that, right? So I kept asking Joe, what if? And this is such a valuable lesson that most people would be so mad at this, but it like put a fire under me, right? Joe goes, David, you are not allowed to message me again until you have a house under contract. And at the time, I wasn't sending any offers because I was just getting started. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm gonna just pay this guy like thousands of bucks, and he's telling me I can't even reach out to him. But it was one of the best lessons, Rob, that I ever learned because like a day goes by, 2 days go by, 3 days go by, and I'm like, man, I can't even call my coach. I could have, but like I was like, I can't let him down, right? I can't let myself down either. So I just started sending offers, offer, boom, got a contract. That's exactly what I did. Joe, I got an offer on this house, man. And he goes, what if nothing? Stop worrying. He goes, whenever you come across something that's a problem, solve it then. Don't worry about how to solve 100,000 problems before you have one problem.
Yeah.
And that was
such great advice.
It was such a powerful thing, Rob.
Yeah, people get all the weight of what ifs on their shoulder. Like it gets super heavy. You mentally get exhausted because you're trying to make all this, like trying to solve these problems, and you're not even doing the most important thing, right? You're not doing the most important thing, right?
Marketing, right? So another way to word what if is analysis paralysis, guys. It's worrying about, you know, well, what if they don't accept my offer? Well, guess what? I get like probably 10% of my offers accepted, sometimes less. Because my team is sending out 2 or 3 or 5 or sometimes 10 a day, right?
Yeah. Do you know your lead to conversation to appointment to, you know, close transaction number by any chance? Do you have that?
You know, I don't. I wish I did. And the reason that I don't, and here's why, Rob, is because I promote a lot of the stuff that I use and I don't have to pay for it, right? So if I am using a service that, you know, might cost somebody else, you know, $100 a month, but it's free for me, and they actually may even pay me a little bit because of affiliate marketing, and I go do a deal on that software 3 months later, my ROI is essentially, you know, unlimited. It's infinity because I didn't have a cost. So so, you know, and that doesn't mean that that I'm better than anybody by any means, but, you know, instead of me, you know, working on just doing the marketing, I'm also promoting people to do marketing and to do what I'm doing because they work, right? So I have a course, and I'm not here to promote anything, but it's called 50 plus ways to find off market deals. And the coolest part about that course is I have done every single one of those ways, and I have done a deal from every single one of those ways. So when it comes to marketing, guys, all of it works. I'm going to say that again. All of it works. The difference is are you going to give up before you get a deal from those efforts? So if you go put 100 bandit signs out and you don't get a deal, well, then go put out 1,000 more, right? You're going to get one. If you're cold calling an hour a day and a month goes by, double it, triple it. It's going to work. All of it works. So to answer your question, right now we do cold calling and cold texting primarily. We send probably $2,000 to $3,000 worth of mail a month. We are on and off the radio. I kind of cycle on. When I first started about 2.5 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, I was the only person in my market doing radio advertising. Now there's 6. So it's just kind of flooded space. So it's like what I usually do is I'll wait until it's really expensive in the holiday time, and then they all stop. So, and then I'm like, screw it, I'll pay a little more, but then I'm the only person on the radio. So I do on and off with the radio. So cold calling, cold texting, direct mail, radio advertisements. Of course, I have a website that we promote, and we have ads on social media like Facebook and Instagram. I used to do a ton of AdWords. I've actually pulled back on my AdWords just because I found that you can get leads organically. So I basically started taking that entire budget of what I was spending on AdWords, which was about $2,000 or $3,000 a month. My market's not that competitive, so I don't need to go spend 20 grand. And I started putting it into like podcast production and blogging, because it's just starting to generate leads that way. And it's a long-term strategy versus a short-term strategy, but it's still online marketing, right? And then of course my team, not only me, but everybody on my team is, constantly posting on social media that we're looking to buy properties. We go to real estate investment clubs and we do networking. I cannot convey, I think is a good word, the importance of networking, right? Like, we get so many deals from agents that are embarrassed to list the property, or the seller goes and gets an agent, but they tell the agent, is there any way we cannot put these pictures online? And they're like, no, this is how we sell properties, right? So then they call investors and they're like, yeah, the seller doesn't want me to list it, but they're hiring me, or they want me to help them. It's really weird. So they call Dave, So it's like there's so much value in networking. Let's see, what else are we doing? We don't do any RVMs unless we're following up, because I don't believe in that right now. And it's illegal in a couple places throughout the country. But we do use them with our CRM. We have multiple CRMs to follow up with people, because it's really not that much different than if somebody actually did do that, but it's not cold, right? But we did do that in the past, of course. Trying to think of what else we do, man. There's so many things. What I like to do is I like to find somebody locally in my market that wants to learn, and I will trade them coaching for bandit signs. So if they go put up 200 or 300 bandit signs, I'll give them an hour of my time or more. And it's like, if you've done 10 deals in your market, guys, 10, that's all you need to have done, maybe less. You can do that. Enough at that point to coach somebody else, right? So if you don't want to put out bandit signs, find somebody who does, that's motivated, and don't pay them unless you want to. That's a cheap alternative, of course, too, right? But instead, check this out. I will go buy 1,000 bandit signs, happy to do it. And I will get a new Google Voice setup or something cheap, something free even. And I'll let that person work every one of those leads. And I'll coach them through the process and split the deal with them. And they're doing 80% of the work. Yeah. They're doing 80% of the work. All I'm doing typically is going on one or two little appointments, or just getting on the phone and making a negotiation and then sending a contract, right? So, there's so many different ways. I would say, we've been buying about 100 houses a year on average for the last 3 years, almost 3.5 at this point. And, I would go as far as saying 15 to 20% of those deals are joint ventures.
Oh, wow. It's a good number. Are you wholesaling all of them? Are you renovating any of them?
Great question. It's a great question. So our motto is simple: keep the best, wholesale the rest.
I was like, dump the rest. Okay, keep the best, wholesale the rest. Okay.
That's it. It's that simple. So, I love buying rental properties, and I love using the BUR method. I've written a book on the BUR method. There's only 2 of them out there, I believe, Bigger Pockets and Me. And I get this question all the time: how does yours compare to theirs? Well, I don't know. I never read theirs. I just know from doing it 100 times. Yeah. I may not be the expert, but I have done it 100 times, right? So I know a thing or two about it, right? So I love doing the BUR method. I love buying rentals. Again, I got about 30 right now. I want to get back up to, over 100. My goal is to get to about 150 in the next, let's say, 24 to 36 months. I think it's very doable. And that's with me working part-time. So I typically only work about 4 or 5 hours a day anyway. Again, I told you guys, I'm really lazy. I'm in Aspen right now skiing. So it's just like, whatever.
So that takes us in an interesting, direction. So, when you're a business owner Like sometimes there's a level of competition that occurs just naturally. Sometimes not. Some people, they're like, listen, I run the business so that the business funds my life. I was more of the opposite. I was like, it's all competition, right? That's how I was. I've learned to unwire that, right, a little bit. But it sounds like you're working 4 hours a day, 4 or 5 hours a day. You shut it
Yeah,
down.
I mean, I would say probably 5 is a long day. Typically, it's 3 to 4 on average.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. I enjoy working. I do, because if I'm in town, it's weird, but I tell my team to set appointments, because I find myself to be the most valuable meeting people, making friends, right? And I really don't, I'm not so lazy, nor am I above going on appointments. I enjoy it because, here's the thing. All the marketing that we do, and we're probably spending $5 or $6 grand a month, right? And that's if I was to be paying for most of the things that I'm not, because I promote them, of course. But the $5 or $6 grand a month that we spend, all of it is directed towards finding ourselves a flip or a rental. Okay. So earlier I said we're going to circle back to this whole marketing thing. I'm going to do that real quick.
Okay.
So I don't care, Rob, if the listeners are wanting to be wholesalers or if they don't want anything to do with wholesaling. I don't care if the listeners want to be rehabbers or if they don't want anything to do with rehabbing. And I'm going to do one more. And I don't care if the listeners are wanting to be landlords or they want nothing to do with landlording. Here's the secret, guys. None of those things are really that possible without getting a good deal on a property. Or possible is the wrong word. They're not very lucrative. That's a way better word, right? Without getting a good deal on a property. So learn to market, and all of those doors will be wide open. And if you want to go down the landlord route and go walk through that door, it's open for you. And if you want to fix and flip, Rob, that door's wide open for you. And if you want to just be lazy like me and just wholesale it and make 10 grand and just go on a trip to Aspen, like I literally just did, right? That door is wide open to you, right? But you got to learn to market. That's the name of the game. This is a marketing business. Find those deals. So with my marketing, all of it is for me to go find my next rental property or my next fix and flip. Keep the best and wholesale the rest. It's that simple. So what we don't want to keep in our own portfolio, or what's not going to make for a really good fix and flip because it is too much work or it's in a bad part of town, we wholesale it. And that's the approach that I have. That's the approach that I try to share with my students, because a lot of people, they want to get into wholesaling because A, they believe there's little to no money to do it, which is true if you consider also that you're going to have to spend a lot of time and money on the leads, right? But then they go wholesale a couple deals and like, wow, this is great. I paid off some debt or made some cash, but like, this is a job, right? This is a lot of work. Like it's a lot of work, right? So, I encourage my students and my listeners, my followers to do the fix and flips, because it's going to teach you a lot and you're going to make way more than 10 grand. You're going to make 50, 60, 80, 100,000 in some markets on a good fix and flip deal. And then also go learn about buying rental properties. And that could be single families, that could be multifamilies, that could be commercials, doesn't matter, right? Because there's so many advantages with rental properties. And that's really my true passion is the passive income. It's the rental property, right? Another way to word that would be getting cash flow, right? I love cash flow. Mr. Wonderful, I know you guys all know who he is from the Shark Tank. He preaches cash flow more than anybody I know. Cash flow, right? So cash flow allows you to get paid, by owning an asset. It's what's left. So if you go out and you're able to buy, a building that, has multiple units in it, and it, total, it rents for $3 grand a month, right? But you only have to pay the bank $2,200 a month. And then you have a little bit of a management fee. You got to factor in your vacancies and your repairs. But at the end of the day, you can cash flow 3 or 4, maybe even $500. And then you go buy 10 of those properties. That's $3,000 to $5,000 a month in passive income. Now, why is that cool? Well, obviously it's cool because you don't have to work for it. But what's cooler than not having to work for something is being able to keep more of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you go out and you get a job and you have a W-2 and you're working hard for the man, government takes like 35% of your money. Boom, it's gone. Gone. When you get cash flow from your money or your assets making you money, you are able to reduce that by almost half, right? So it's like, what better way to create wealth by paying less taxes, right? Not only on the money that you earn, but you can also offset your taxes on other income. Amazing, crazy, right?
When you think about, okay, so you've been doing this 16 years now, 10 years slow.
I was a rookie for 10 years.
10 years slow, 6 years faster, right? Where do you see the next 10 to 15 years for David Dodge? Like what is your business look like? What is it going to morph into? What are some of your big audacious goals?
Uh-oh. Somebody's calling me, but wait. Yeah, no worries. Sorry, I'm using my phone again. Here's the camera here. So I would say the big audacious goals are, let's see if we can't silence that. I really want to grow my coaching business. I want to grow the business and help more people learn about, marketing and learn about being able to open those doors we talked about earlier, right? Everybody, usually has one they want. They pick one. They're like, oh, I want to go rehab houses, or oh, I want to become a wholesaler, or oh, I want to be a landlord. And usually after they get good at one of those, and they'll start pivoting into the other things. But again, none of that stuff is feasible, or what was the word I used? Lucrative. None of those lucrative, right? Without knowing how to get a deal. And it's so simple. How do you get a deal? Well, you market to sellers and you offer convenience. And you demand a discount. And if they don't give you a discount, then you pull back. I love it whenever I'm on the phone with students and they are, maybe kind of new, or even ones that have been doing it for a month or two. And they'll say, Dave, can we hop on a call with this seller? They're just being really difficult. And I'm like, let's do it. Call them up. Let's go. I'm ready to go. Let's go. And I say, hey, this is Dave. I'm with Household Easy, where I'm partnered with this guy or this guy in his business. And I just want to let you know that we are really excited about working with you and buying your house. But I want to be very clear with you. We don't pay retail. And if you're looking for that, then I want to stop this call right now, right? So what can we do for you? We can make your life incredibly simple. We can pay cash. We can close fast. And we can buy this property as is. You guys see the three things right there? Mm-hmm. And if that works for you, we'll even help you load the moving truck, right? But we do not pay retail, okay? So Mr. or Mrs. Seller, this guy, James, Jim, or Frank, whoever the student is, says, hey, this is the Mr. Seller here, and Mr. Seller is off, asking $100K. And I say, oh, that would be great if we can close in 2.5, 3 months, and we're gonna need to get an appraiser in here to make sure that that's worth that, and we're gonna need to inspect. So no problem. How does that sound? And then they'll be like, well, I thought you guys said that you can pay cash and close quick and do it as is. And I said, yes, absolutely. But we don't do those things for free. We're not doing that for retail. So if you're asking 100 and you want all those things, we'll pay you 70 and we will be happy to make your life incredibly easy. But if you're not going to make it a good deal for us as investors, then we have zero interest in running this appointment with you. And I'm very frank. I'm not rude. There's a difference there. But I'm very frank. I get to the point. And I think a lot of it is disqualifying myself, because in the beginning, I would spend sometimes an hour on the phone with somebody just to realize that they are not motivated. And my wife would look at me and be like, you are too nice, David Dodge. And I'd be like, I know.
I'd go on the appointment, David. In the beginning, I'd be like, and I'd go on the appointment.
Like, she's my my best coach, because she'll just she don't have to speak. She'll just look at me and be like, and I'd be like, that guy's not motivated, right? So now I lead with it. I lead with the fact that I don't pay retail route. I lead with the fact that I have a couple conveniences that I would offer them in exchange for a discount, but only if, right? Only if. And if they want retail, we can still help them. We can refer them to an agent. We can refer them to a home valuation expert who's basically an agent on our team that will send out to make a wholesale offer, but also pitch a listing while they're there. right? But before we go, we want to know where they stack up, right? So the biggest question I think I get is, how do you know what to offer? I don't half the time. I pull up a Zillow Zestimate and multiply it by 0.5 or 0.6, literally.
Yeah, 50%.
That's not what I'm willing to pay, guys. Come on, let's be real. It's probably a lot more than that. But what I do, Rob, is let's say the Zestimate's 200 grand. I say, yeah, I'm typically buying anchor. It's an anchor. I typically, what I'll say is, let's say the Zestimate's 200 grand, Rob, and the seller's on the phone. They're like, well, you know, what would you be interested in paying? And I say, you know, I'm typically buying houses in this neighborhood around 120 grand. And I'm probably willing to pay 150. But here's the thing. If they say, there's two ways to respond to that. One is, you are crazy. It's worth 200. Great. You want to hang up on me? This is going to save me the trouble. Bye. The other response is, oh, you know, that's a little lower than I was thinking. I was really hoping to get 145. And it's like, boom, I probably would have paid 150. You know? Yep. Okay. Yep. Hey, you know what? I can't promise I'll pay the 145. You know, I'll be really comfortable with the 120, but that doesn't mean I can't make this work. Are you going to be free tomorrow afternoon? Yeah. I'm going to go book the appointment. Yep. Yeah, book the appointment for my team or myself or whoever. And, you know, it's really that simple, guys. I am not an expert at sales. I am not. But what I am good at is making friends with people and justifying my low offer. Now, you notice I didn't say my offer. I said my low offer. My offer's low every single time, guys.
But it's for the act of convenience.
This is a business. The definition, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. The definition of business, go look it up. The act of making money. I'm not going to do this to break even or to lose. It's always
wonderful, Junior.
Yes, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
You know what? I think something that I'm taking away that I think listeners can take away is that, one, I could tell that you genuinely like people. So you're going in there and you're looking you want to make a friend, right?
I always make a friend.
Yeah, and you have no qualms letting anybody know that it's going to be a low offer because there's a trade in convenience, right? That's value. Convenience is value. And so
I often get my offer accepted when it's not the highest because I make it so clear to people, Rob, that when they work with me and they give me the discount that makes it lucrative, that they're not going to have to worry about anything. And that if my partner backs out at the last minute, then I'm going to find a new one or I'm going to use my own money to buy it. Right. And I tell people this all the time when I'm on appointments. You know, I love being the last guy out. I don't have to be the first. In fact, I don't even really want to be the first because they're just going to shop my offer. But if I'm the last guy out, I will make a low offer. It's always going to be a low offer, but I'm going to justify that offer as being the best offer because it's backed by me. And not only am I going to give them those 3 conveniences, but I'm going to show them a track record of 600 deals that we've done, right? And I'm going to make it very clear to them that I am going to bring a partner in on most of my deals, but it's me buying the house, not the partner. You know what I'm saying? And oftentimes people will take my offer over somebody that's willing to pay them 5 or even 10,000 more because I am really good at getting them to like me and making a friend with them. And a lot of it has to do with listening, which I'm not doing a whole lot of on this show. I apologize.
Hey, no, and you're not supposed to. Like right. That's my job is to listen. Your job is to talk.
That's right. But, you know, getting out and making a friend. I believe that you put me up against the best sales guy, that I'm going to be able to go, you know, neck to neck with him. Not because I have all these tips and tricks and, you know, I know about NLP and mirroring people and, you know, controlling situations and anchoring and all these little tips and all these things that could definitely, you know, add a little bit of a bonus to your game. But at the end of the day, people don't want to be sold. They don't want to be convinced. They want to work with somebody they trust and like. And if you go in with some sleazy sales tactic, you're not going to be liked. I can promise you that.
You know, it's interesting. I teach everybody on my team, there's 3 things. It's a triangle. People need to like you, they need to trust you, and then they need to respect you. So the like is, can you make a friend? The trust is, right?
You nailed it.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And so I've learned through if you have all three of those, like, trust, respect, yeah, like
you're
it's
gonna be
it's a
just fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna do fine.
absolutely. It's not rocket science, guys. You don't have to have all these, these like little tips and tricks, or however you want to call it. Like, obviously, learn negotiation. Excuse me, learn it, because it's gonna better your life in every single way. Not even in real estate, like booking into a hotel. You're gonna save money because if you know how to negotiate, right? You're gonna want to learn that stuff. But when it comes to getting a seller to sign a contract for a low offer that you hopefully just justified as being fair by offering conveniences, what they care about is liking you and trusting you and respecting you. Like you just said, all of these things. And there's no better way to gain someone's respect and make a friend with them by, just don't be in a rush, listen to what they have to say, and don't come in. Here's one of the things that I think is so funny. People that will say, are like, let's just say I make an offer and the seller comes back a month later and says, I'm really starting to consider that offer. And let's just say I was like, well, that was the offer I made last month. And I always make my highest offer first. So now the offer is lower. Do you think anybody wants to work with that D-bag? No. Be normal. Be a human, right? So if somebody calls you a month later from an offer you made, be like, oh my God, I was just getting ready to call you. Like, I was thinking about you too. This is great. That offer is still on the table. In fact, I might even be able to pay a little more. I don't know. I need to see the house first though, right? Like, when can I come view it? Like, just be friendly. It's that simple. Love it, man.
So let's well, I have an idea for you, by the way. Okay.
I love it.
Here's an idea. Because you're passionate about the marketing piece. How many real estate investment books have you read that really go deep on marketing? No. So there's a lot of real estate investment books.
Mine does.
What's that?
I wrote a book on wholesaling too. I have 3 books out.
Okay.
And it's called The Ultimate Guide to Wholesaling Real Estate.
Okay.
And I'd say 60 to 70% of that book, well, maybe not that much, 50% of that book is about the different types of marketing methods. But Rob, I am agreeing with you when I say this. Most books on real estate investing do not go into marketing. They mention it, but they don't go into the specifics.
The specifics, how it really works. The cost per client, the cost per client, just now it's all going to change. When you're talking, Russell Brunson's coming to mind, right? And like you read some of his stuff, like, and you realize, okay, this guy is a marketing genius, right? Just the way hook, story, offer, and he has the whole thing. But nobody's really done that for real estate that I know of at a deep level. We're going to put your books in the show notes below, because I think that would be awesome, right?
Yeah.
Because
sure.
if you talk 60 to 70% of your books on marketing, like that's what everybody needs to really learn. Like I always say, it took me a long time to figure out. I'm like, you're not in the real estate business, guys. You guys are in the marketing business. You got to get comfortable marketing. You got to understand other levels of marketing, and you got to be a student of that game, right? Become a student. And then, by the way, when the telephone rings, you better know what to say. So you better learn how to develop rapport, make a friend, like you say. I love that. It's a really, really talk to them like you're their friend, right? Like when you use that friend analogy, it makes everything easier, right?
So whenever I'm on the phone with somebody, I tell them, hey, you got your phone handy? I'm going to give you my cell. I want you to save it as Dave that's going to buy your house, right? and nowadays, I get caller ID just without even having it in my phone. And whenever somebody calls, I call them by their first name. I'm like, John, I was thinking about you too, man. I was getting ready to call you. What's up? I don't even know what house John lives at. But I treat them as a friend before we're friends. It just encourages them to be more friendly. You see what I'm saying? I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. Rob, if I'm able to share one thing with this audience today, I would highly recommend everybody go check out freewholesalecourse.com. That's the only plug that I would like to make. If you want to share my books, that would be great by all means. But freewholesalecourse.com, is the plug that I would like to make. I have helped close to 15,000 investors at this point learn
That's
the
awesome.
basics of wholesaling. And you can learn. I have a course. It's going to probably take you 3 or 4 hours to get through. It's free. So I'm not even selling anything here. I'm not saying go buy this. Go check it out for free. The only catch is I need an email because I want to send you tips and tricks. I want to send you more value. And if you want to opt out at any time, that's totally cool. But there's 3 or 4 hours worth of free content in that free wholesale course. And again, 50 to 60% of that is on marketing. It's the specifics of how I find my deals, what softwares I use, how to drive for dollars, how to pull those lists, how to send postcards, how to cold call. What system should I use? Where do I get my leads? How to cold text. Where do I get the leads? What system am I using again, right? And we even break it down into, I think it's 6 or 7 different modules. The first thing's kind of the 101. Then we talk about the marketing. Then we talk about, locking up properties and making offers and sending contracts. We talk about the closing process. I mean, we break down the entire business over 3 or 4 hours. Again, that's freewholesalecourse.com.
Dude, that's awesome. We'll definitely put it in. We'll have to add you to our marketplace. I'll talk to Jess about that.
That would be awesome.
David Dodge. Okay, man. Well, you're there. You're in Aspen for a couple more days.
Yeah. We're actually leaving tomorrow night.
Okay.
But I might even get another day in skiing. Today was day 5. Woohoo! And this is my 5th trip to Colorado this year.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah. I know. Usually I don't get to come out. Usually it's 2 or 3. So okay, come on. That's still a lot. I get it. But this year I was just like, you know what? Life is short. This pandemic is just, it's really rich in everybody's happiness, and any opportunity that I could find this year to go with my wife. This is my 2nd trip with my wife, or with my wife or my buddies. I'm taking it. I'm going. I don't care about the cost. I'm doing it. You only live once. And another thing is, I was thinking about this on the gondola today, Rob. I was thinking, I am just so grateful that I'm a real estate investor, because it gives me the freedom to do this. It gives me the freedom to take a vacation. It gives me the freedom to jump on a podcast, for an hour plus with a friend and provide value and not worry about all this other stuff. Real estate investing, if done properly by direct to seller marketing, and and then again, all those doors open up, it's going to provide you a life that's going to give you freedom and riches, right? You're going to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Time, freedom of time is one of the big ones. The fact that you can go to Colorado and you've been there 5 times this year already. That's awesome. That says it all.
It's
David,
amazing.
Thank you, brother, for sharing time with us today. I really appreciate it. That's awesome. Enjoy. Get back to vacationing with your wife. I'm so sorry I kept him for an hour. She's probably going,
worries.
come on, get done. Anyhow, man, thanks so much. We'll catch up later on. Be well.
Hey, thanks, Rob. I'm grateful for your time. And again, thanks for having me, man.
Sure.